Hi, so here we are for lecture 2, dystopia or utopia, right? And you can see from these two images, this idea that for some people, I'm gonna pause. Hi, so here we are for lecture 2 of 4, dystopia or utopia. Obviously, the ones who walk away from Omelas walks that line, introducing us first to a utopia and then showing us the price that has to be paid and who has to pay it. And it sort of, in that moment, captures a reality about utopia and utopian and dystopian thought that that isn't always immediately apparent. And that is that working from the exact same stimulus, we end up in one instance with hope and the other one with fear. So imagine that you're concerned about youthful energy. You might, if that, or let's just say you're interested in youthful energy, you're not concerned with it, you're interested in it. If you're writing from a utopian impulse, you might write something that's full of hope. What might we do with all of this youthful energy? If you're writing from a dystopian impulse, you might be filled with fear. What would happen if society tried very hard to clamp down on and prevent youthful energy, right? What might the world look like? What are we afraid might happen? So what are we hopeful is possible, and what are we afraid might happen? Those are two rhetorical responses to the exact same stimulus. So let's look at another example. Women, right? Women, they're getting around, they're having sex. Now, if you're against women having sex, you can have a hopeful or a fearful response to this. If you're in favor of women having full sexual autonomy, you can have a hopeful or fearful response. I'm sorry about all those things. I got to figure out how to make that stop. I think it's just like my constant email just popping up all the time. So welcome to my hell. Okay, so we start with this question of women as sexual beings. And let's look at first the dystopian impulse sort of articulated, right? So here we have Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and she's thinking, what would happen? What was she afraid might happen if what society fears might become reality if too many people are concerned, too many powerful people are concerned about controlling women's sexuality and reproductive possibility. So it's a cautionary tale. Let's see the worst case scenario and try to avoid it. Or we can go back to Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. And here I'm just going to read a passage, and I've got it written out for you. The narrator says, early in the story, I fear that Omelas strikes some of you as goody-goody. Smiles, bells, parades, horses, blech. If so, please add an orgy. If an orgy would help, don't hesitate. Let us not, however, have temples from which issue beautiful nude priests and priestesses already half in ecstasy, ready to copulate with any man or woman, lover or stranger who desires union with the deep Godhead of blood. Although that would be my first idea. Let's not do that. Instead, surely the beautiful nudes can just wander around, offering themselves like divine soufflés to the hunger of the needy and the rapture of the flesh. Let them join in processions. Let tambourines be struck above the copulations and the glory of desire be proclaimed upon the gongs. And not an unimportant point, let the offspring of these delightful rituals be beloved and looked after by all. So you can feel the hope. She's looking at her present society, Le Guin is, and she's having her narrator narrate her hope about sexuality, about sexual self-determination. And she's including women in this celebratory, hopeful, imagined space. Very different, right? Very different from the fear expressed in a dystopian imagination around this same issue. Right? And there's even, I don't know what this slide's doing here, but yeah, useful energy, right? We've been talking about that earlier. And so you may be able to think in your own experience of a TV show, a movie, a game. Maybe some of you were went to high school in Miami-Dade, and you read The Giver. I believe that was the story that a lot of people read, in the 11th to 12th grade here in Miami-Dade public schools, right? There's a dystopian story, maybe, because it has some possibility at the end. But does it function as a cautionary tale? Can you think of a TV show or a movie or a video game or a comic that does that? And the same thing, if you'd rather think about a utopian leaning product, like maybe and I'll put some examples in the comment section below, right? A place, a story, a video game that's a blueprint for how we might solve some of society's problems, how we might begin to think about a happier future than our present. So technology is another example of this, just to sort of add one last one here, right? We have this hopeful version of this same thought about technology, right? Utopian rhetorical response to technology would describe a society in a different place or time in which technology is less present or less terrifying, or both. Rhetorically, such a story about a story about such a society would function as a blueprint, right? And we'll read a few of these in this course. And right, you start to think, oh, technology is your friend. Oh, it's so fuzzy and fabulous. Here's a Roomba with a cute puppy. But other people might think about that same question of technology and the thoughts that it generates for us as a society, and they'd have a different rhetorical response, right? A dystopian one. A response that describes a society in which our fears have become a reality. Rhetorically, such a story would function as a cautionary tale. Don't take these steps, or this horror show will follow, right? These are all the things that you might expect if we keep going the way we're going. We're going to picture that for you in a story or a film or a video game, and that would be the dystopian rhetorical response to technology, which would be very different from puppies riding on Roombas. All right, so that's the second lecture. Thanks for listening. Oh, here's that last slide. It's about the ones who walk away from Omelas, right? We don't know at the end what happens to these people. And so we don't know if Le Guin is asking us to feel hopeful or she's cautioning us about a possible dark future. Something to think about. I love the ambivalence in this story as a way to begin this semester. All right, thanks for listening. Pretty sure that's the last slide.